How's your iron these days? Do you have enough of it? Probably not, because it seems that we actually are low on it around the world, Tyler. It's not just here in Canada, but it's worldwide. We generally are low on iron.
Yep, it's you're right. It's in terms of the world, it's definitely the most commonly deficient. The symptoms are also fairly unmistakable. Like it's fatigue, lethargy. It feels like you're when you hear people saying like when I was at the top of Mount Everest, if you know anybody who ever went to Mount Everest, they'll always describe feeling like they're very tired and fatigued and want to go to sleep and they have no physical energy.
Yeah, hard to breathe there. But
it's hard to breathe.
Like, so everything just seems like everything's weighing on you.
It's more to do with a lack of oxygen at high altitudes. In the case of iron deficiency, you don't produce hemoglobin, which is your body's primary oxygen-carrying protein found in red blood cells. So you end up, despite the fact that you're not at high altitude and you're breathing all this air in, it's not going anywhere. It's not being transported to your cells. So you feel fatigue, lack of physical energy. You're pale. If you ever kind of want to guess if you're iron deficient, and you look at like the inside of your eyelid, your eyelid.
You pull your eyelid down.
Pull it down. If it's red, that's good. If it's pale, it's
Am I red?
You look okay.
Good.
You look okay. It's also more common in children, people with bad inadequate diets, and women and pregnant women. It's more common. So it's good to always get checked to be sure if you're iron deficient before you go with any supplementation. But in general,
and can they do that with just a blood test?
Yeah, you can just do a blood test.
Okay.
And they'll test like your iron storage, your current iron, your hemoglobin, like your red blood cells. They'll test all of that, all the works. In terms of where you'd get iron from, now from animal foods, especially like mussels, oysters, clams, very, very rich in iron.
Yeah, which are things that most people don't have in their diet,
true,
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a little more uncommon to eat those. So, I mean, I always think of beef as a place to get iron. Like,
beef and like red meats are very high in iron.
That's okay. I mean, you don't want to be eating it all the time, but to include that in your diet.
It's one of the few advantages of red meat. Is the protein's good, the iron's good, the B12's good. And that's probably it, you know what I mean? So that's the key advantage. You can also get it from
don't be eating a 12-ounce steak, but a 3 or 4 ounce piece is okay, right?
Keep it more moderate, exactly. You can also find it in a lot of like produced packaged foods, like a lot of dairy alternative beverages, a lot of cereals, breads.
Oh, so they will add iron to these?
They add iron to it. It's very important though to not sort of just expect it to be there, don't assume it. Actually pick up the box and look where it says like iron and then a percentage. And you want to have like 20 to 30%.
I'm just going to ask. So how much should we be getting?
How much a person gets? It's about 10 milligrams for men. It's about 15 to 18 milligrams for women. If you're pregnant, it's even higher. So those percentages are usually based on men.
Okay.
Just like nothing, no special circumstance like pregnancy. So you're looking at the 20 to 30% from a fortified food. If you're eating meats, just expect that it's always going to be there. The other thing that's important with iron from meat is it's heme bound. It's what they call heme iron.
Okay.
So it's already pre-bound to hemoglobin, so it absorbs.
So that's a good thing? So it absorbs better?
10 times more effectively utilized, bioavailable than plant-based irons.
Okay.
So it's relatively easy for us to use. When you're talking about vegan foods, other than your packaged fortified foods, you're pretty much conveniently looking at your meat alternatives. So just think if you're not eating meat, you'd be eating a meat alternative, which conveniently, not only is it high in protein, but it's also relatively high in iron.
Okay, so these are like your legumes.
Yeah, your beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, all that type of thing are going to be fairly decent in iron. Yeah, even green and yellow beans are pretty good as well.
But how much would you have to eat to get your proper amount?
You have to consume a lot more of it. Sometimes even like impractical quantities. Like if you look at, if you go on the web, you'll see sesame seeds have quite a bit of iron. But it's like no one's eating, tablespoons of sesame seeds.
No.
So it's just one of those impracticalities kind of thing.
You need quite a few of those little guys.
Yeah, it's quite
what you need.
It's quite a bit. And then you also have to factor in the fact that the iron is not as well absorbed because it's non-heme iron. Your body has to basically incorporate it into hemoglobin for it to be utilized. Now, when it comes to supplementation, there's been recently a big change in terms of what the common types of iron supplements being recommended by doctors is.
Okay.
Prior to maybe a couple of years ago, it was mostly, I brought some kids' toys.
I was going to say, would you just put in some of your kids' toys today? But explain what these are about.
I had a molecular kit that I had out this morning, and I was going to build them, and I'm like, I'm going to have to make it correct, and it's going to be time consuming. So basically what you have is, imagine this is iron.
Okay.
Iron is always, it's electrically charged, so it's always, when it's in supplement form, bound to some sort of acid. acid. So
Okay.
like a fumaric acid or citric acid. In order for it to absorb, this has to be basically broken off in your body, and then your body has to absorb the iron, like the straight iron ion, basically through a protein. So how well this breaks apart is determined by what type of iron molecule it is. So some are better than others. So
Okay.
a lot of them don't even dissociate properly. Like someone with low stomach acid, this doesn't happen very readily. And then your body's limited by how well it absorbs this, which is not very good. Your body doesn't absorb iron very well, even on a good circumstance, good situation. So what a lot of irons these days are doing is they're using what they call an iron, like a protein-bound iron.
Here, I can hold this in if you want.
Thank you. So,
Oh, you got
so
it.
this is what they call an iron bisglycinate. So these are
Okay.
2 molecules of glycine. What happens in this case is your body absorbs these purple guys really, really easily. So the iron literally just is a
So
stowaway.
it just gets pulled in.
It's just kind of like hanging out, sandwiched between these 2
Cool.
molecules of glycine. Your body's kind of none the wiser until it's already in your blood.
So that's what the supplements are doing now?
The better ones, yeah.
Combining that.
Yeah.
How do you
so-
know if you've got that in your
So
supplement?
you're basically looking for, the common one now is called iron glycinate or iron bisglycinate. Those are basically 2 molecules of glycinate. Those absorb really well. They're also dirt cheap. Like they're extremely, extremely cheap. Like you can get a 4-month supply for about $13.
Oh.
So it's really, really inexpensive. Some people ask me what's the difference between like liquids and capsules.
Sure.
And the sort of the prevailing I guess, understanding is that liquids are always better. It's definitely not the case. Liquids are not always better. What matters more than whether it's liquid or capsule is the chemical form it's in.
Okay.
So if you're going to go with liquids, look for iron polysaccharide. If you're going with capsules, look for iron glycinate. You can also get heme-bound iron like this. So that's the hemoglobin-bound meat-based iron.
Which is
So,
great.
Yeah, unless you're vegan.
Yeah, I was going to
then
say,
go
unless
for
you're
it.
vegan, vegetarian, you don't want that, but...
Really, really good absorbing, really expensive. It's about 6 times more
Fantastic.
expensive.
All right. And I mean, always they can head into Full Circle. You guys will answer those
Yep.
questions and ask. If you're unsure, ask the questions first. So good to have you on. That was a
Thanks
good
for
one.
having
I mean,
us.
we don't often think of iron, and it's something
Yeah.
that we need, and it could be the reason we're so tired and
Quite often, yes.
draggy, right?
Yeah.
So Full Circle Healthcare and Supplements, Highland Plaza, it's at 131 Upper Centennial Parkway. You can call them at 905-930-7769 or email fullcircle.hamilton@gmail.com. You can check them out at fullcirclehealthcare.ca.